Welcome to Roots and Resilience. We have been moved by listening to the stories of wonderful people we have crossed paths with.
We have been inspired by their resilience throughout their personal and professional journeys and feel there are powerful lessons we can all learn from this.
I'm Tejal, and alongside my sister and co-host Nehal, we hope you enjoy listening to this episode. I'm so delighted and pleased to have Zarina Sachak with me today on Roots and Resilience. It is she's a lovely friend and an ex-colleague, a retired community dentist who's always loved her work. She's been able to balance work and family life without compromising either, and in her retirement is now enjoying traveling and finally indulging in her one-time passion of learning to play bridge. I can't wait to hear your story, Zarina. Welcome to Roots and Resilience.
Thank you.
So let's start right at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your early life, where you were born, and share some childhood memories with us.
Well, I was born in a little island off the east coast of Africa, Zanzibar. Sounds very exotic whenever I tell anybody. But yeah, it was very, very basic, very third worldish. That time we didn't know any better. And yeah, it was a wonderful childhood. We used to have different ways of keeping ourselves busy. We didn't have any TV. We didn't have any games to play on computer. And I think at that time computers were not even, I think, invented, or it hadn't arrived to our little island anyway.
Are we talking about the 50s, 1950s?
I was born in 50s, so yeah, about 60s.
50s,
That's
60s.
when I
Okay.
sort of became aware of everything, as a child.
Yes.
Just playing with friends, getting together. We used to have a huge garden, as it were, a very popular place where everybody met in the evening. So my father would meet his friends in the evening after work and play cards there. And we would be playing all sorts of games invented by ourselves, really. One game I remember playing, which I taught my grandson as well, and he absolutely loved it, is to go in the garden, pick up different shapes of leaves, put them on a plate or on the floor, and then, with a gang of people, one person takes one away, and somebody has to notice which one is and go and find where that particular leaf was from.
Wow. So that's
Which one is missing, and go and find that one. So it was a game we just invented and we used to play, and this is how we used to pass our time.
That's amazing. That is, so you get to use your imagination, and be creative. And did you grow up with within a community? So with your
Yes,
neighbors?
very, very community oriented. And my father was very religious, very religious. And although it was a small town, we had about 3 mosques within our reach of our house.
Right.
And yeah, every occasion, every religious occasion, we would always be there in the mosque. I don't know if you know, the Muslim observe 10 days of Muharram.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, you don't even celebrate anything. It's the morning period.
Yes.
And you are in the mosque practically all day. You go in the morning to hear the service, the priest gives. And then in the afternoon would be the women's gathering. And in the evening would be men's. And because we were children, the children were allowed, and the children were encouraged to come because we used to get sweets and something we couldn't go and buy in the shops. So that encouraged children to come. So even though we were girls,
Yeah.
I used to still go with my father. So it was like 10 days of solid religious, yeah.
Okay. And then where are your family? Where was it your parents that migrated to Zanzibar?
Yeah, my grandfather lived in Zanzibar. My father was actually born in India. How he ended up in India, I don't know, because obviously my grandparents were from India.
I see.
And then I think they emigrated to East Africa,
Mm-hmm.
I presume after my father, because my father was the eldest.
Mm-hmm.
So all the other siblings were all born in East Africa.
I
So I thought
see.
they emigrated to East Africa.
Okay, fine. So they had a very established community when you were born there. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Mm.
okay. And did you have a lot of other extended family around when you were growing up?
No, just
Like,
no. My mother's side of the family was in another island, which is again off the east coast of Africa. I don't know if you've heard. It's called Pemba.
no, I haven't actually.
Yeah, it's another island. That's where my mom's family came from. So my mom's parents lived there. So every holidays, we used to go there for holidays by ship.
Oh wow.
And
And what was that experience like?
I used to dread that journey because, I was very seasick.
I can relate.
And there were two ships. I remember this very clear. There were two ships. One was smaller and one was bigger. The bigger one sort of swayed a little less than the little one. So I would insist I will only go if I'm going in a big ship. So
And
yeah,
how long was that journey?
almost a day actually. We get up in the morning and get there by evening. It was very slow ship. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, nowadays you cover it in this ferries and catamarans they have. So within an hour and a half, you're there. I remember if you had to go to the mainland, which is Dar es Salaam, it was half a day because
Okay.
it's there. But Pemba was north of the island of
Okay.
Zanzibar.
So actually growing up on an island is quite unique, right? Compared to, I mean, there's a lot of communities who lived in East Africa or Africa or wherever. But can you share some stories about what that was like being on an island? Did you get to go to the seaside or the seafront or the beach? Like, was that a daily thing?
All the time. I mean, we used to look forward to weekends. We used to call it chamba. I don't know if you know, it's a Swahili word, as if you're going for a picnic. And we used
Right.
to look forward to because although we didn't have swimming costumes or anything, we used to just go in the sea
Yeah.
with our dresses. And one thing I always remember is my mom used to hate us going in to swim in the sea with our dresses because the
Mhm.
sand inside was so fine that the hems of our dresses would get filled up with sand.
Oh yeah,
I'm
okay.
not joking. This was so true. And my mom would have to undo the hem, release the sand, and then do it again. It was
So
that good. And we used to love, even now. I mean, if I had a choice of swimming between swimming pool and a sea, I would
mm,
go for sea anytime.
yeah. Oh
Anytime.
wow. So could you walk there from where you lived?
No, no. There was, I mean, it was an island, so where the town is sort of near the beach, but that was not very secluded in the sense because there were other communities as well. There were African community, there were Ismailis, there were Isnaishiris, there were Hindus, there were Arabs. So it was a very communal place. If you wanted to go and swim somewhere, you'd have to go certain places which are more sort of popular for, but it wasn't crowded. I mean, it wasn't something everybody did. So
Yeah.
occasionally we would go and, it
Okay.
was
So
never crowded. I never remember ever being crowded. Maybe the local people would come and watch you, but
yeah.
no, it was never crowded. So, we would go away from the town. So it was more sort of like
Hmm.
going away somewhere. Whereas in the
So it was
town,
like
if
a
you
day
wanted
out type
to go to the
thing.
sea.
Yeah.
I remember my brother used to go swimming, from home.
Hmm.
But we as girls, I think we never were allowed to go, I think, to go and swim.
So what
Um,
was school like? What was your school?
Again, we used to have our own community school. It used to be called Bohora School, and similarly, Shinashris had their own. There was a convent school as well, where the Christians went. And yeah, it was just normal school life. But we didn't have a whole day thing, so we would go in the morning, and by lunchtime it's finished. But then
Mm.
in the afternoon, we'd go for the religious school,
Ah,
which was
okay.
separate from the main school because religious school was only for our community. And
Okay.
when we finished that in the evening, we'd go and meet friends and just play, really.
Did you walk everywhere? Was everything walking
Yeah,
distance?
yeah, everywhere. Because you can't take
Mm.
cars are not allowed in the town. It's a very
Oh,
small town. Yeah, only I mean, they're very narrow roads.
what is the name of the town?
Just Zanzibar. It was just Zanzibar town. Stone
Oh, I
Town, as
see.
they call it now, Stone Town.
Okay. All right.
But I
And
don't think,
does it feel safe, like for you to walk around as a
yeah,
girl?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely
Yeah.
safe. I mean, we would worry about it, but never sort of mugging or I mean, we could have our houses burgled or something, but very, very rare. I've never known any sort of occurrences, that I could even remember. But we would always be careful at night.
So,
But you weren't mugged.
yeah, I can understand. Like, you've got to be, I think, sensible wherever you are, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when we were growing up, when we started, going out. independently, we'd always have to have like an agreement being like, okay, where are you going to go? How are you going to get there? Who's going to be with you? What time are you going to be back? And then I think at that time we had obviously the luxury of mobile phones, so we could keep, families informed about what we're doing. That wasn't clearly the case at the time. So if you were leaving the house, going to school and going to religious, like, would your mum just expect you home at a certain time,
Yeah, we
or?
used to walk everywhere ourselves. The only time I remember, if I was going to be late, if I went to my friend's house,
Hmm.
and if I was going to be late, my mom would say, look, instead of walking home on your own, my father used to work just nearby them. My father used to work in a petrol garage. He used to sort of, they used to get petrol, and he used to help this old man look after the garage.
Hmm.
Cars used to come and
Mm,
get the petrol, etc. And
mm.
I don't know what else he did, but it was near. So my mom would say, just go there and come back with dad. And my dad had a car,
I
a
see.
pickup
Okay.
car. He was very well known in the town. It's such a small town, but he was very well known. He was a very kind person. And a pickup means there's a space at the back to sit. So if he saw anybody he knew, he would just give
Yeah.
them a lift. And
Just
it was so popular that sometimes people used to just look out for his car, that they knew he could stop him, and my father would take them.
just jump in. Yeah.
Just jump in, yeah. So, at that time, the distances used to be very long for me, but now, having lived in UK, it's just walking distance. But like we used to have different areas like Darajani, Gambo, Sokomogo, places. And it
Yeah.
is walking distance. By that time, it used to be a big distance to walk. But yeah, and I used to come back with my dad.
That's lovely. And did you have to learn Swahili at school, or was that something you just picked up by the virtue of living there?
We picked up a lot of, because we had our servants, and my parents had to speak to them in Swahili. But after the revolution in Zanzibar, Swahili language became compulsory in all the schools.
Hmm.
And in fact, I didn't learn as much there as I did when I left Zanzibar to go to the mainland for my secondary school. Because
Ah,
there we used to have a political education subject, and that was taught in Swahili.
I see. So there was no secondary school where in
Oh no,
Zanzibar.
they
Right.
were, because my brothers and them all did it.
Right.
They all went to secondary school, but because I was the youngest, by the
Hmm.
time I got to that stage, the revolution took place, and education was just completely not abolished, but it wasn't as organized as it was after the revolution in
I
Zanzibar.
see.
I was there in Zanzibar. We were all there, all my brothers. We were there in Zanzibar when the revolution took place. I remember that incident is where we were in the house, stuck up for about 3-4 days. You couldn't come out. It was
Mhm.
complete,
A
what's the word?
curfew.
Curfew, yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So what was it? Was it like actually like physical, like was there tension
They
in
were
terms of?
they were overthrowing the Arab government as it was, very domineering there. The Africans didn't want the Arab to leave the town because the Arab had always invaded, well, not invaded, but they came from the Middle Eastern country and they took over. We used to have a ruler called Sultan.
Ah.
There was a Sultan ruling the whole thing, and everything was done. It was such a nice person. He had a huge palace just in the town. And
Hmm.
we used to pass there, and I mean, I haven't had much encounter with him, but there are times when the tourists came, they would wait for his car to come out and salute him and all that. But
Hmm.
that's what they overthrew, the Sultan government, and the African took over.
Okay.
Everything then changed.
I see. I
And
see.
that's what I think, and the rulings were, I mean, I remember one ruling was, even if an African comes and asks your hand in marriage, you can't say no. That was very frightening, actually. And for that reason, a lot of young girls in our community, especially, and others as well, they escaped the island in the dhow in the middle of the night,
Oh
almost
wow.
risking their lives.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Gosh.
they escaped because the mainland from Zanzibar to Dar es Salaam was a little distance, and there were dhows. They used to leave at night, middle of the night, and land on the mainland.
Oh my
20 hours.
goodness.
And obviously they would have arrangements there, their relatives would come and pick them up or whatever.
But
But my
still,
father
that's
was
like,
always against it.
oh gosh. Yeah, that's incredibly risky. A on a dhow, which is, in the dark, and it's like what, a
Exactly.
half a day journey, you were saying, to get to mainland?
Sorry?
It's like a half a day journey, right? To
Yeah.
get to the
No,
mainland.
they
It's not
used to
just
do it
a,
overnight. They used to do it overnight.
Oh my goodness. Do you know people who personally did that?
Yeah, a friend of mine, I mean, all my friends, they left like that.
Wow.
But my father was totally against because he was holding, it was some point, my parents lived in Kenya.
Okay.
I don't know if my grandfather has sent them there or not. So three of my two brothers and one sister, they're actually born in Nairobi.
I see.
So while there, because it was under British rule, my father had the protected British passports for us.
Okay.
And so he said, things will change, immigration will change. And he kept always looking after, ways we could just travel with the passports. And
Hmm.
I think the ruling came that they could, people can leave, and he managed to get our local passport. He didn't use the British one, the Tanzanian passport, and we escaped. Well, not escaped, but we managed to get out by plane to the mainland.
Wow. But you were kind of fleeing the new regime or the new
Yeah,
kind of
basically, yeah.
basically because
Because
you were
my
so much
education was just
uncertainty.
nil.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to have all these separate sect schools. They wanted all the Africans to go any schools they wanted to. The African wanted to rule basically.
Hmm.
So,
Was there a lot of was there violence or kind of the fear of violence when you were there?
well, it was always there because, if you
Mm,
didn't obey, you would get punished somehow or the other. Yeah.
mm.
So the fear was always there.
So was it almost like a very quick kind of right? We managed to get tickets on this flight, right? Kind of within a few days, you wrap up and leave, not
Yeah.
knowing if you're going to come
It
back,
wasn't
type
few
thing.
days. My father was working on it, and when it finally was happening, we had to keep
Mm,
very quiet. We didn't have to
mm,
tell anybody we are going or anything. And then when it happened, we just got on the plane and we just left. My
right.
sister and I, we were the only two. By that time, my brothers had already left Zanzibar when the going was good during Sultan time. My eldest brother had already come to UK. He was studying engineering. My second younger brother went to India to study. My sister was already here in UK.
Mm. And how did that? How are you? What was going through your mind when you were leaving Zanzibar? Like that's all you kind of
There was a
knew.
bit of fear inside that, we're going to an unknown place. We don't know if we're going to be met with. I mean, we knew the relatives were there, whether they would welcome us. And they did. I must say they did. But I mean, the worry was always, and my parents weren't going to be with us because they were
Mm,
still living in Zanzibar.
right. So it's just you and your sister.
Mm.
And how was that kind of when you got there and restarted your education? How was that not knowing when you were going to see your parents and your
No,
family scattered all
they
over?
used to come and visit us. Not that often, but they used. But we stayed with my uncle, my father's brother.
Hmm.
And we were in Morogoro. So my sister then decided to give up her studies. I mean, she did secondary school up to, I think, form form 2 or form 3. And then she just got herself a job as a secretary in Morogoro. Morogoro is another little town just near Dar es Salaam. And
Okay.
that's where my uncle used to live. He settled there with his family. And we all lived together. And my brother, who was in India, he came back home. Um, and he was teaching in a school in Morogoro. So I got admission in the school quite easily, obviously, because he was there.
Hmm.
And so I did my secondary schooling there from 1, 2, and 3. But while we were there, my brother who was here, he was always insisting, just leave. If you can leave, come here and do another course to my brother.
Mm,
Because he had done a degree in chemistry, and so he was teaching chemistry in school.
mm,
But I think credit goes to my oldest brother who just encouraged and encouraged and encouraged. And because I was holding dual citizenship,
mm,
um, with my British passport, my brother was trying to get the British Commission to give us a visa to go to, because my brother was here already in UK. He had
hmm.
already got married, and they were both working, my sister and brother. And they said, just come over. And then again, my brother was working on getting British Commission to give us a visa, but they won't. In the end, I mean, I didn't know what was happening at the time because I was only, 15, 16, maybe 14. But what the lawyer advised that you renounce your Tanzanian citizenship, and then the Tanzanian people would deport you. Then the British will have no choice but to issue your visa. And that's how I came to UK.
Right.
I was
But
deported by Tanzania. I remember going to a court as well with my brother. I didn't have a clue what was happening in the
oh
court.
my
It
gosh.
was quite a frightening experience. I was standing in that little cubicle, and anything he asked me, I would look at my brother and he would go this or that.
Oh, oh my God. So you're voluntarily getting yourself deported in order to relocate. But I guess
That's
being
how
guided
foolish.
by your older siblings along the way. But
He
oh
already
God.
had a British, because he was born in Kenya, he already had a British passport. But with us,
Ah,
we had a protected passport that my father somehow managed to get it. I don't know
okay.
how, what, or what, but I knew we were in possession of it. And that's how I ended up in UK.
Okay. So right. So tell us about that. Did you have any idea what it would be like? Or did you just
Didn't have
yeah.
a clue. All I knew was I was coming here. Didn't have any clue about the weather, the seasons, the dressing, the huge shop and malls that caught me by absolute. I used to dread going to a departmental store. I would never leave my brother ever let me go on my own. I would always go with him because if I entered a store, I didn't know whether I entered from the right side or left side. So when I came out, I wouldn't know which way to turn.
Yeah, it was just everything was so
It just
different
was so
scale.
overwhelming.
Yeah, no, yeah, oh, naturally. Obviously, can you imagine like growing up on an island, like really simple sort of
Exactly.
life, and then eventually ending up in I guess was it London that you came to? You
Yeah,
flew
we
to,
came to
yeah.
London, yeah.
Yeah, and then sort of being thrust into this as a young teenager. So when you were younger, Zarina, like did you ever at school, did you ever sort of think, oh, when I'm older, I want to do this or I want to be this? Did you ever have a vision or a dream that
No,
at all
none
you
whatsoever. When I was in Morogoro in my secondary school, all I knew
yeah,
was I liked doing maths.
right.
So I always thought the back of my head, I'm going to be an accountant. I'm going to be an accountant. That's
Okay.
all I had in my mind because
Okay.
I loved maths. I
Yes.
absolutely used to love it. And I'd also done some local accountancy exams as well. I
So
used to
so
go
tell
to
us
Dar es Salaam to do them.
so you were kind of gearing towards going into down that field, but then life had different plans. So when you arrived here, did you restart your schooling in the UK? And how was that experience, like adjusting?
When we came to UK, my brother who was there in with us, he came with me. We came together, both of us.
Uh-huh.
By then, my sister had got married locally, so she was living with her husband, so she didn't come. And my brother and I, we came back, we came to UK together, and he took me, well, obviously advised by my older brother, saying, take her to this college, I'll get admission, they do this, and this, and then we found a college in Walthamstow, would you believe? Which did a course because I already done 3 years. I only had to do fourth year to do my GCSEs. So
Right.
that college did a revision course in one
Uh-huh.
year.
Okay.
So they thought, okay, she will do her final year, she'll get a revision, etc. I mean, they were making all the decisions anyway. And the first day I went on my own, I was absolutely petrified. But anyway, I'd been there with him to do the registration, so I knew
Yeah.
the college a little bit. And then my brother told me which way to go, which tube to take, this, and he directed me very well. So I got to the college, all right. We didn't have any phones to say, look, I've reached safely or nothing.
Yeah.
And there I was at 9 o'clock. I was waiting. I thought the bell will go, the doors will open. In the end, I thought the time is gone. And then another woman was just watching me, I think sitting there. Came, are you okay? And I said, look, I've to start my class. I'm waiting for the bell to ring. She goes, and I could see the smile on her face. And she said, no, which class have you got to go? You just have to make your way there. I had to
There's no bell.
sit an English exam as well for them to categorize because a lot of foreigners used to come. So
Right.
to categorize different and I scored very well in English, so that was a plus point. And I was in a good English speaking school group, and yeah, it was a complete disaster, honestly. And then to even make it worse, they had an annex. So lunchtime, the two classes after lunch were in another annex. I didn't have a clue how to get it. So I just cordoned onto the woman who was in my class. And I said, look, have you got to go there? I'll come with you. So I followed her by bus. So I got to know that route like that, that every Monday after lunchtime for 2 classes, I have to go to this another annex by bus.
Wow, and you just kind of got on with it. You find your
I,
way somehow, don't you? When
you
you
just
realize
do.
you,
I think you just do.
yeah.
You know you've got to do it, so you just do it. Somehow the strength just comes.
And
Maybe
you're with your brother, but other than that, your parents were still
still
abroad.
in, yeah, they were still in Zanzibar.
Okay, and then so you continued with your studies, and at what point were you, when you were considering career options, like what was going through your mind? How did you end up doing what you did?
Well, when I first came here, my brother did ask me the first thing before I even finished my GCSE. He said, "What do you want to do?" So I said, "No, I want to do accountancy." It was always there on my mind. And he sat me down and he says, "Look, let me tell you this. This is honest truth." He says, "I've got two friends." He says, "One is a dentist and one is an accountant." He says, "The dentist is minting money." He said, and the dentists were doing very well. And he said, "You know what? The accountant is still struggling to pass his exams because it's so difficult." So that sort of set my mind on, because I had to choose my subjects. You see, I couldn't do many, so I only chose 5 GCSEs. He said, "Stick to science," he says. "Just do maths with it, just in case." And that took the faith, that sealed my faith.
So you didn't do any
Um,
work experience or like any shadowing prior to making that sort of career decision?
No, none whatsoever. We didn't have any courses to go to tell me anything, nothing. In fact, a visit to a dentist was a surprise, because when I came here, I had a toothache.
Uh-huh.
And I had to go to a dentist who my sister-in-law found. He was a flatmate of her cousin who used to live in Earlscourt. And she arranged with her that she's got a toothache. Can you see her? So, she saw me for a course. And the very first time I had a local, I came out of the surgery and I kept hiding my face, thinking, "Oh, my mouth is so swollen. Everybody's probably looking at me, looking at me." Hadn't had any, well, I had teeth out in Zanzibar. I remember going with my mom once, and that was completely forgotten.
Oh
In fact,
wow.
once I was in the island of Pemba, and this is honest truth as well. I had a toothache. I must have had, because my mom sent me with my cousin, who's much older than me, go to the hospital and see the dentist and tell them to take her tooth out. No mother or father came with me, so we went. No worries, whatsoever.
No
No worries.
consent
So we
issues.
went there, and my older cousin, she told the doctor that she's here to have a tooth. He had a look at it, and he says, "Okay, come in." He gave me an injection and told me to wait outside. Well, my cousin didn't know any better either. So we just walked back home. And my mom looked in my mouth and she said, "But the bad tooth is still there." "Go back," he says. So funny,
So
honestly.
was it actually a dentist delivering this care, or was it just a doctor who did a bit of dental stuff, or like what was the healthcare like setup?
Very basic, but I would have thought he was a dentist, because he did take my tooth out. But no worries whatsoever. So we went back there and he came out and he said, "Where did you disappear to?" Just
Oh,
kept quiet. And he
wow.
realized that we didn't, and then we went in later. Must have been a
So,
baby tooth
so
at the
young
time
young
anyway.
children can like advocate for themselves essentially to be like, look, I've got to. You can take yourself to a dentist or wherever. Have say you've got a toothache, and they'll do the necessary treatment. There's no like, where's your parents? We need them here,
No,
and we need to see
absolutely
you.
no consent, nothing. Yes, that tooth
Nothing.
is better, we take it out. It
Wow,
was
wow.
mainly extraction. I don't think I had ever experienced fillings. It's only coming here. And after my toothache was sorted, she found out the fillings, so she did all that fillings. But when I came to the other fascination was chocolates. Tejal, we never had any chocolates back home. My father used to have a big bundle of bananas. Every time we were hungry, we just go and pick a banana and eat. Never had. So it was my mission with my brother. I'm going to try every single chocolate. And didn't even have any worries about rotting your teeth or nothing. That's why I've got such bad teeth, actually. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
no, that
Oh,
was my passion. So I tried every single chocolate on the counter.
oh wow. That's amazing. And actually, I just thought of something. So going back, I know we're going back and forth, but when you were back in Zanzibar, did you have like running electricity there, or did you also use like if the
We
lights went, did you?
occasionally, very, very occasionally, I remember the lights, but not as much as it is nowadays.
Right.
Nowadays, they suffer a lot. Suddenly the light goes, the electricity goes. But I
Uh-huh.
don't remember ever suffering that. No, I mean, we never had freezers. So if the lights went, it's only the fridge we worry about.
Right.
And
And
in
then what would
fact,
you
a
do
lot.
if, what would you do if like did you light candles or like did you have
We
like
used
a
to have this little lamp burners.
what's it called?
Um, Fanas we used to get. We used to call them fanas. There was one
Okay.
that was really big and powerful, and it
Uh-huh.
pump in the air, and the petrol or whatever they put inside would burn and give a glow.
Right.
Another which burned with a wick.
Okay. So
So you would lift the glass and burn the
uh-huh.
wick, and the
Uh-huh.
wick was in a little container which had the oil or kerosene or whatever. And
Yeah.
in fact, you remember in Pemba, when I used to visit my grandparents, they used to choose to use that at night to save the electricity.
Ah, okay. So
Then if you wanted to go to the toilet, you just pick that up and you just walk with it.
so it's like a
The
lantern
handle,
with a
yeah, it had the
handle.
handle.
Ah, okay. But it's burning some kind of fuel essentially
Yeah, I
to
think it
light
was
it up.
kerosene.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the only electricity we needed for is to light the rooms, I think, and maybe the fridge.
Yeah, that so you don't really have that many other electrical items, like
No,
no
no,
television, no
everything was
telephone.
manual.
Um, yeah.
Maybe fans, yeah, fans used to run on electricity, yeah. Yeah, I remember having fan in our room
Hmm.
in Zanzibar, yeah.
Yeah.
But none of these electrical gadgets or anything, no.
So growing up in a quite a exotic place and the climate as well, how did you adjust to the climate in the UK?
Oh God, tell me. The very first thing I really hated this country was I'd never worn shoes because it was always warm. So it was sandals and flip-flops and things. So I came here and I came in September. So my brother
Hmm.
goes, you need to have shoes because in winter you can't go around with a flip-flop. So my sister-in-law took me out to buy a pair of shoes. I went to the college for the first day and I came back, Tejo, with a blister size of a penny. Came
Oh,
home and I just threw those. I am not wearing this ever. So we went back again, and she bought me a pair of shoes that had a little strap at the back, so my heel was open. And gradually, then just got used to it. But that was oh my God, and having to wear the coat and
all the layers.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, I don't think you really like wearing socks to this day.
To this day, no, I don't. But everybody in my house knows that.
So
No.
how did you so you were at school and then you decided you wanted to do dentistry and what was the applicant you just apply to say like, you know,
Yes, I just applied. I did A levels, and by
hmm
then I was sort of used to this education system, and
hmm
I changed the colleges, but to much local one, which was
hmm
in Southgate. We used to live in Barnet, so
hmm
this is in Ghana. But I, had lots of good friends. A lot of Asian friends from Nairobi and Kenya were there. Actually, I don't know. They came to study sort of university thing, and it was much pleasant experience compared to my GCSEs, and. You work towards your grades. So, if you wanted to do dentistry, you had to have these grades. So you
Right,
work
so it was
towards,
mainly the grades that you had to basically hit. That was the most important aspect,
yeah,
really.
you had
And
to,
then
yeah,
if you got your grades, was there a high chance that you will get your place at
oh,
university?
yeah, yeah. In fact, when I did get my grades, I did
Hmm.
get the grades because at them dentistry were 3 C's minimum.
Okay.
And when I set my exams, A-level exams, I got B and a 2 C's.
Uh-huh.
So I had already got a place, but it was in Leicester Square, which was it? Royal Dental.
Okay.
And when I went for the induction there or something, they told me, they said, do you know, are you planning to get a grant? So I said, I hope so. And they looked at my date of arrival to this country. It was 9th of September. And the grant, you have to be in this country for 3 years on the 1st of September. So I was
Uh,
missing it by 7 days. So I said, oh, no, only 7 days. Of course they will allow me. And the woman was quite sort of, giving me the message saying, and lo and behold, no, I couldn't get a grant. So I had to have a year off.
right.
It was no good me repeating any of this because I already had the
So
grades.
they kept your place. basically?
No, they didn't. No, I had to reapply.
Ah, okay.
Go to interviews, everything. And I had an interview in King's
Hmm.
in London. And because I already had the grade, I had an unconditional offer sent to me.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's where I did my dentistry.
And what
And
did you?
I worked, accounts were always my method.
You never
I
left
worked
it.
in the accounts office. I don't know if you heard of a brewery company, Indicoop. They used to have
No.
an accounts office in Finsbury, which was just 3 stops by tube for me from Barnet. And I worked in the accounts office for a year.
So that
I
was,
I just took it as a permanent job. I didn't tell them I'm going to leave, and so and everybody had their different areas in UK to look after the accounts of their customers.
mhm.
And mine was Essex. So I used to get letters from them and, I had to give them recommendations and this and that, I basically
Yeah.
managed a year in there. And then when I got the unconditional offer, I just left.
And how was your dental school experience?
Again, university life is different from home. And I was a bit worried in case, I didn't get home because it was, you encounter completely total new friends there.
Hmm.
Nobody I knew with me went to
Hmm.
same place. But again, I was very lucky to have a room in front of a very, very, in fact, I'm still in touch with her, a Greek girl. She was absolutely godsend. I'm not joking. And yeah, she realized because she was studying law and she had failed her exams. So she was retaking a year or something. So she had been in the halls of residence for a couple of years and she realized I was new. So she was very, very helpful and made my stay very, in fact, to the extent that she used to stay there in the holidays. But she couldn't go back to Cyprus. I mean, it was pointless. So
Hmm.
she used to stay there. So I said, oh, I'll stay here as well during my holidays, not
Oh.
realizing that I'd have to pay extra. And my mother goes, hang on, your grant will not cover that money, he said, so you better come home.
Oh,
So I went home and we'd have to empty the room and there were overhead cupboards. We can store our stuff in the overhead cupboard
yeah.
because they used to let out the rooms to people who used to come for short courses or something like that.
Hmm. So
But
did you, so obviously you'd surrendered your passport to come to the UK, right? So you're kind of like in your mind, you're like, this is where I'm going to be living, I suppose. But did you ever at any point feel like, oh, I wish, I could move somewhere else or, you just
no,
happily
life just
accepted
took its own course. Life
right?
just dealt with it
Okay.
because you're only allowed to live in the halls of residence for 2 years, and then you have to find your own. But by then we have formed a nice girls group, and
Hmm.
we used to have a really nice time in the halls of residence. We're still in touch with some of the halls of residence.
Oh, wow. From back then.
Yeah,
That's lovely. That's really
yeah,
lovely.
with my
So you had a happy, positive experience through dental school. And then after that, how did you have VT back then where you had to do your compulsory year post graduation, or could you just go straight
It
into
was an
work?
option. It was optional. It
It was
wasn't
optional at the
compulsory.
time.
It was
Okay.
optional, yeah.
Right. So then how was your journey into community dentistry?
Well, during my time in university, I met my husband, and then he had come here for a year's course
Mm-hmm.
in High Wycombe. He was looking after wood factory back home.
Mm-hmm.
He was a manager there, not factory, what do they call it? Mill, a
Right.
sawmill.
Okay.
And he got a scholarship to come and study further into wood industry.
Mm-hmm.
So he had come here, and one of my cousin was doing exactly that because his father back home had a sawmill as well, other than the one my husband used to work in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They were both together in the halls of residence in High Wycombe.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin introduced me to my husband. So we got to know each other. We kept in touch and we went out, etc. And then after finishing my degree, I went home just on holiday.
Mm.
And there, when you go home and they found out you're seeing each other, it's like you must get engaged. You can't be seen because again, Tanga is where my husband used to live. It's a
Mm-hmm.
small town. You go
Mm.
out and everybody knows you've gone out. Okay.
Mm.
And one
Mm.
person knows, the whole town knows. So
Yeah.
my sister was married in Tanga. So then my parents came and we got engaged. Yeah, I came back. I didn't get my BDA the first year. I failed it, so I had to retake it 6 months later.
Right. Okay.
So when I came back, I started work as well because I had my LDS by then, so I could still work.
Right.
I carried on working, and then obviously the pressure came. We must get married, must get married. And yeah, we got married. I went back home before starting work. I did a couple of odd locums here and there.
Hmm.
But then I went back and we got married.
So was
Yeah.
was he at the time, was he sort of newer to the UK compared to you?
Oh, yeah, yeah, because he had
So, but
done
then
that
did he
1 year, 1 year,
yeah.
then gone back home.
So did he have any intention to go back though?
Oh, he had to because he was sponsored.
Ah,
He had to go back. He couldn't just say, look, I'm not coming because he was
the,
sponsored by them. He had to
mm-hmm,
go back.
mm-hmm.
And
Did that mean you would have to go back with him as well? If
after getting married, no, I didn't
yeah,
want to stay there because I thought if I stayed there, we would just be there. And I was thinking more future then. That if we have
yes,
children, if we are here, they could have better education, etc., etc.
yeah,
So I said, no, we have to go there. Although it was difficult because
yeah,
I didn't have a job then because I
right.
had left to go and get married. So we came back here. When I
Mm,
came here, I was already pregnant.
okay.
So I couldn't go to work. And a friend of mine, she was working for a community as a community dentist, and while working in the community, she was organizing her own practice as well in the bottom of her house.
Uh-huh.
So when it got established, she was going to leave community, and she told the dental clinical director that I know somebody who can. And she was only working two half days. So she said, I know somebody who might be interested to work in just half days for you.
Hmm.
So he was a really nice gentleman, actually, Mr. Sweetman. And he called me for an interview. I went, and he says, yeah, so I used to work two half days just to keep my hand in dentistry, basically,
Yeah,
because the sim was always there.
yeah.
Only child, when Seifu wasn't there, he had to go back home.
Hmm.
Yeah, then Seifu used an excuse that my wife isn't keeping well in UK and I have to leave the job and I have to go and support her. This is on. He got one of his doctor friends to write a letter saying her wife is suffering from severe depression and this and that he has to be with her. And that's how they let him go and came here.
Oh
Because
wow.
after sponsoring, they wouldn't just let him go like that.
Hmm.
Then he came here permanently and he got himself a job in an accounts office that one of my brother's friend used to have.
How did you stay engaged in the profession? Because you could have retired at 60, but you chose to work, and well into your 60s before you officially retired, right?
Because as I said, I loved it, the variation in the job, the
Yeah,
school inspections, going to do GAs in the hospital.
yeah,
And I've seen it evolve because before we used to do GA in the clinic.
that's right.
The anesthetist used to come, his assistant used to come. We had a qualified nurse. Where the staff room is now, we used to be our first recovery room. The surgery number 2 was the second recovery room, and the third surgery still worked as an ordinary dental surgeon.
It's been lovely talking to you, Zarina, and hearing about stories from, from Africa and then the transition coming to the UK
It
and,
is, it is a big transition. I think now our children would learn from us, but whether they'll be brave enough because they've had such luxuries in this country, I don't know if they will ever go to a third world country to do it. I don't think so.
yeah, I think we've had the privileges of being able to experience travel and see other countries without, having to have to live there, I suppose. So we've kind of get like a flavor of it, but naturally we'll never really truly appreciate what it was like living in the 50s, 60s, 70s in a different continent, different culture. And I
Yeah, I
think
think going from a modern country to a third world would be difficult, whereas the other way around, it was easier.
yeah, I suppose. But even to be fair, like, I know a lot of people now, I would say my generation probably are kind of there'll be some people who are curious about working abroad, but often it would be kind of sticking to countries where, like America, Canada, Singapore, or maybe Australia, New Zealand, where, there is a similar kind of setup, like, or similar culture, or there's not a huge culture shock, and your lifestyle doesn't actually change that much, right? Um, So it's not that common that people make bold decisions to move and relocate somewhere completely and utterly alien. But now we have the luxury of also information, so you almost know what you're getting yourself into. Whereas at the time there, you're moving around, really going
No clue
into with
whatsoever.
no
I
clue
know.
exactly, just
You
being
just
guided
face the
by.
situation as it was faced in front of you. That's it.
So what do you think having, being able to be faced with those situations, does that mean that it makes you less afraid of the unknown a little bit?
I think so. I think so.
Hmm.
And I always believe that whenever something untoward happens, you always think of the worst, but there's
Hmm.
something good can come out of it.
Hmm. So as we wrap up, I normally ask our guest if there's one piece of advice that you could share with the younger generations based on your experiences, what would that be?
Be brave and just follow your passion, whatever it is, even if it's for your own something you want to do, or even if it's something you have to do. Just
Yeah,
go for it and do it.
yeah, that's great. No, thanks so much for sharing your journey with us, Zarina. It's been lovely
What you've
speaking to
been
you.